So we're going to be looking at the no matter what way. So you might have come here thinking that, I'm going to learn how to detox my thoughts, but it's bigger than that. It really is a complete way to neutralize the thinking that usually goes from the side of either blame and judgment of others, or shame and judgment of yourself, or going into regret. And all of that has underneath it fear, usually. Fear, why would you ever be angry if you weren't afraid that something was going to happen? So you also really learn to know what to do with the thinking that creates all fear. And we're going to dive right in. I want you all to think about, is there a situation you can think of? I'm going to throw out a couple of examples. One might be you get a text or an email, or you see somebody calling and you're like, oh no, I don't want to answer that, or you get sort of that kicked in the stomach feeling right away, and your stories go crazy about what's going to be in that text or that email. So just be thinking, is there a time like that, or a time when you just going along thinking you're doing fine, and then all of a sudden somebody's mad at you, and whether your mind goes into, oh no, what did I do wrong, and you blame yourself, or you're mad back at them for being mad at you, and not holding your part, not seeing that you were doing the best you could. So just a couple of examples. One more might be if you, for example, somebody talked to me today about losing a job and thinking, well, now I don't have this big salary, and a lot of fear about money and whether or not you have enough, whether or not you are enough, even in situations, maybe you're having sex and you look down and say, oh, that's what I look like, oh no, I'm not enough, so there's so many situations where the thinking, you're going along fine, and then the thinking tells you something bad is happening. And so one that I'll just give my own example first of how this works. I run retreats. I have a spot on the water south of Annapolis where my husband and I bought years ago, and then very soon after that my marriage fell apart. I had chronic health issues that really flared up and caused me to give up my big career in Washington, and then my marriage crashed, all in the space of 9 months. And I loved this place. I lived so much, but I was just so sure I was going to lose it. And it turns out somehow I just, kept going and going, and I ended up keeping it. But I still didn't get past a lot of the things that were bothering me then until I got this work. So now it's not only a spot for retreats. We've had 17 retreats there, usually 2 a year. We've got one coming up in 2.5 weeks. But also when I'm not doing retreats, it's vacation rentals. So this winter, the vacation rentals were suddenly nobody was showing up. And I had just done a huge remodel on the house, and most people would think, oh no, that's bad. Oh no, that's bad. Nobody's coming. Nobody's, and it's all through Airbnb. I don't know how to advertise it myself, but I was able to somehow get the attention on Nextdoor, and somebody that would never come to me in any form of advertising, but a woman showed up, and she and her husband ended up just kind of renting from us. We made a real creative agreement where they would move around to all the different little spots on my property. It turns out she's an expert in LinkedIn, and I was just about to work with LinkedIn for this marketing. Finally, she's here today helping me at this booth. She helped me do our big 5-day thought detox in January, and is going to be the cook for our retreat. So even though, rather than going into being devastated about, oh no, the rentals, I just really trust that it's always going to be like that. You will always have what you need in these uncanny ways if you can just get yourself and your negative or scary thinking out of the way. And who knows what prosperity is going to come out of that relationship. We've become great friends, and it's a phenomenal thing where when you start to realize your monkey mind cannot predict what will happen. So a lot of what we do is to help out whatever is bothering you, what's creating anxiety or stress or health problems or relationship issues or work issues. A lot of the women in our groups might have issues with their grown children. Whatever it is, that's sort of the first step to be able to get on top of what is creating all this pain and suffering. But then it moves into manifestation, okay, well now if I can get out of my own way, what would I be creating? And you start to have the tools to trust what shows up. And the good news is, if it hurts, then that's holding your path out of it, even more than you thought. Like for me, I always heard that, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to shift from point A to point B. So that's a lot of what this is about. And so I stumbled on something called the Work of Byron Katie some years back, and I could see that, wow, this simple way of questioning our thoughts, 4 questions and turning it around, is an amazing thing. And so I got certified in it. It took 6 years, and there's only about 150 of us in the world that are certified in that work. So I'm gonna give you a little taste of that work here on one thought. Then I still hadn't completely gotten over my propensity to beat myself up, to go into regret and self-doubt and indecision and guilt and just kind of that hamster wheel thing. And so somehow I was able to develop something called the Wheel of Self-Love, which has 3 steps that allow you to forgive yourself and move past whatever had you stuck in regret and guilt. And so there's 2 pieces of the no matter what way. There's the Work of Byron Katie, which we really come at from a self-love perspective, and then there's the self-forgiveness piece. And behind everything, I saw that with this kind of work, there are no bad outcomes. You're either loving life or you're using what hurts to wake yourself up to the thinking that's causing the problem. And the loving life part gets bigger and bigger and takes in more because you have less and less conditions on what I need. I need it to be this way. I won't be okay unless it's this way. I need them to. I need me to. I wish I had been different. I need life to. I need the weather. Whatever that is, there's really only one thought behind all emotional pain, and that is a conditional thought. This should be different than it is, or I need this to be different than it is. So we're going to do a little piece of work around a need that you have, where there's a situation where you feel like you need something to be different than it is. And I'll actually work with someone if you're willing to, or we'll just do it. Oh, she's already a volunteer, yay! You can, yeah, and so I'm gonna let you get ready we'll do a brief meditation where you get to find your need situation so you can work this with me. And but first, while you're waiting, you could go ahead and write down on your first blank there. It helps you take notes. It says the one thought behind all emotional pain. And I'll talk a little more about that. So the one thought is past, present, or future. So it can be now, I need this to be different than it is. This, you shouldn't be mad at me, sort of thing. Somebody's standing right in front of you and they're mad at you, and your mind goes, they shouldn't be mad at me. But the reality is they are mad at you. So